G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated Podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I really mean that. Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate your support because it's been a few weeks since I've uploaded an episode, and unfortunately I have to report things have not been very good. The last few weeks have been the most difficult I've ever faced. I have gone to my version of hell, and it has been hellacious. There's no two ways about it. But here we are, still standing and still punching. I'm going to go in a little bit more detail shortly about what has gone on, although not too much, because I must admit, I'm still digesting everything that's gone down. But the good news is there is plenty more podcast material on its way. That is for sure. So there's a positive in all the negative. So I'm going to try and explain what my sort of mindset is at the moment through the use of a metaphor. And it comes from my favourite movie, my number one of all time, which is Rocky. The Rocky series, Rocky Balboa, but in this case, the original, the first one. But it's true, I love all the Rocky movies. So during high school, I used to watch a Rocky movie every night. Every night of the week, I used to watch a Rocky movie. I've seen all of them over 100 times, at least, for sure. And I use these movies often as a metaphor for my life. I am Rocky, and I'm going to do the same here now, explaining this metaphor. So try and stick with me. I promise it'll make sense, I hope. So for those that aren't aware, in the first movie, Rocky faces the world's heavyweight champion in Apollo Creed. So this metaphor sees us watching the big fight in the 14th round. Rocky is getting pummeled in the corner, and a sharp left hook from Apollo Creed sees our hero, i.e. me, go down for the count, or so it appears. Now, as I said, this is a metaphor. So in this scenario, Apollo Creed represents the suffering, the pain, the continual struggles of life. As we know all too well, life can get us down. And in this case, life being Apollo Creed, has just knocked us, or Rocky, down for the count. So as Apollo is showboating to the crowd, that is, the negativity of life believes it has finally ground us into dust, Rocky scrambles to his feet somehow. What a hero. And as Rocky gets to his feet, Apollo turns around and is bewildered that our hero has somehow found the resilience, the fortitude, the meaning and purpose which makes the suffering all the worthwhile. He has risen to his feet and beckons life on. I can take more. Bring it on. Bring on more responsibility, and that's what Rocky does. Although he is battered, bloody, and bruised by the sufferings of life, he stands toe-to-toe with Apollo and faces up to the challenge that awaits. Now, the way I see it, life is very much like the Rocky movies. Every punch Apollo throws is another challenge or difficulty life throws up that we must face head-on. And although sometimes life knocks us to our knees, we all must stand back up and face whatever it is that is throwing jabs and hooks our way. And for all of us, that is very unique, individual and personal. But we all have our own Apollo Creeds to stand up to. And we need to channel our inner Rocky Balboa and never give in, the eye of the tiger. Because at the end of the movie, Rocky is victorious. Although he didn't beat life, and none of us ever will, because we do unfortunately all die, he did take on the challenges willingly and carried the burden that we must all carry. We all will get battered and bruised from time to time, but if we can go the distance in the dance that is life, then we too can stand at the end knowing we took it all on and were not defeated. See, the goal isn't to knock life out, no way. We need to be in balance with life. Negativity will come our way, that is for sure, and that is normal. But if we dance with life, then it will reward us with positivity. And it is the belief in our ability to dance with life's hardships which gives us hope for the future. And hope is there to be found and nourished and allowed to flourish. Anyway, I hope that made sense. So in other words, life is Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed's beating on you like life does. Rocky says, get stuffed, and fights back. And then the victory is there for the taking. So anyway, maybe that made sense, maybe not, but that's sort of how I'm viewing the world at the moment. I'm taking some hits. I've taken some big hits. I've been knocked down, but we've grabbed the ropes, we've climbed back up, and we're saying to life, bring it on, baby. Bring it on. There's more fight left in us than you thought. Let's go. Let's dance. But as I said, the last few weeks have seen me knocked down more than once. So, you may remember I was talking about my new job as a behavioural therapist and how difficult that actually was. Well, it was so difficult that I had to throw it in. My ailing mental health just got in the way and was like, nah, we're not doing this no more. We are shutting down. And shutting down I did. But as I said, I can't really go into detail just yet because I need to really figure out what the hell happened. But what I do know is I ended up in hospital and I was questioning whether it was worth standing up once more, knowing things will get harder before it gets easier, or if we should allow ourselves even to be knocked down and exit the ring for good. I think you may understand what I'm referring to there. But thankfully, I found my inner Rocky, and here we are throwing a few haymakers ourselves. They're not all hitting the chin, but hey, we're throwing them, and eventually it's going to hit. But positives have been brought about as well. I now have a significant other in my life. Can you believe it? I'm sorry, ladies. You should have reached out to me sooner. I'm sorry. I'm moving out of my terrible accommodation. Remember the single room I live in, the glorified halfway house? Well, I'm on the move. I'm getting out of there, and I'm working on strengthening my friendships and relationships with my family, the things that really matter. And speaking of the things that really matter, they are now so much more clearer for me. See, when you find yourself asking the question of whether it is worth taking the hits anymore, these things tend to become crystal clear. And I must say for that, I am thankful. I am very thankful. Bit of gratitude, see? Doesn't go astray. So have no fear, my wonderful audience. I am back. Elliot is back. And there is more to say about this latest chapter in my story. But for now, that has to be enough. As I said, I still need to process the last few weeks before I can appropriately articulate it to you, my wonderful audience, what exactly went down and what it means moving forward, because there is a lot to digest, that is for sure. But just like Rocky, I have the eye of the tiger and I ain't going nowhere. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking with me through this, because you are all amazing. We've all got our own battles, but together we are getting through it, and it's so amazing. And I'm not lying when I say this. When I was laying in the hospital bed trying to figure out whether it was all worthwhile, I remembered this amazing audience that I have that I'm so privileged to talk to about my problems, and that maybe it resonates and together we can improve. I feel like I have a responsibility to continue on that path. And for that, I thank all of you. You all mean the world to me. Thank you for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. All right, that's enough for now because I'm about to start crying. And soon, the next episode, this is exciting, is the Discharge Papers, the next installment. And let me just say a little hint, it has a lot to do with what I just spoke about. So there you go. It's all going to become a little bit clearer soon. But as I said, thank you for sticking with me. You all mean the world to me, and I thank you for that, and I cannot express that enough. Anyway, that's enough for me. That's enough babbling. I will see you next time for the next episode of the Dysregulated Podcast.